Good afternoon and welcome. As we've done for over 50 years, we're here today, one day after his yahrzeit on the Gregorian calendar, to commemorate the life and legacy of Ze'ev Jabotinsky and to remember his crucial message of the Iron Wall in the Middle East. Jabotinsky introduced this concept as a defense against the rise of Arab nationalism. He understood that in this region, might usually makes right. Our keynote speaker surely will have more to say about this concept. Today, Israel, together with the US, is engaged in a multi-front war with the Islamic regime in Iran and its proxies. Ceasefire after broken ceasefire, memorandum of understanding are purposely mistranslated to the Iranian people and disregarded by the Islamic regime. And so it drags on. Can the regime or its proxies be dealt with the way one would deal with other countries? The brilliant Daniel Greenfield, who we must ask back for another Zoom, by the way, titled his article just today, "Treat Iran like terrorists, not a state." We can defeat enemies who are not afraid to die, he says, but we have to be willing to kill them. Food for thought. As Jabotinsky once profoundly stated, we do not have to apologize for anything. We are a people as all other peoples. We
Yeah,
do not have any intentions to
yeah.
be
Do you
better
want to hear this or do
than
you
the
want me to do it
rest.
on the
Can we
earphones?
please mute everybody who's in? So Jabotinsky went on to say, we don't have to apologize for anything.
Want to listen to this while I do or no?
Who is speaking, please? Okay. We're people as all other peoples. We do not have any intentions to be better than the rest. As one of the first conditions for equality, we demand the right to have our own villains, exactly as other people have them. We do not have to account to anybody. We are not to sit for anybody's examination, and nobody is old enough to call on us to answer. We came before them, and we will leave after them. We are what we are. We are good for ourselves. We will not change, nor do we want to. As I said earlier, we've been doing these memorials for over 50 years. For over 20 years, we've been taking AFSI Chizuk missions to Israel. I'm hereby inviting you all to join AFSI on our upcoming post-Jewish holidays mission to see and understand why a whole Israel is crucial for a strong and defensible Israel. Through our missions, the deep relationships we've built allow us to receive firsthand information from the people who are really living and working in the land. And please join AFSI in helping to safeguard Ze'ev Jabotinsky's Iron Wall by becoming members in the greater AFSI community. Become an active member and support us to prevent or help prevent further breaches of the Iron Wall. And now, to start our program, I introduce Josh Janoff, one of the cantors at my shul, Chabad of the Beaches, for the traditional memorial prayer. Thank you, Cantor Josh. Josh? Josh?
There's a stuck mute there. I think he can't he can't unmute.
Mm. Because you were unmuted before.
Okay, now
But no, yeah,
Okay, now.
technology.
Yes. Unmute. I haven't asked to unmute. just unmute yourself on the little widget.
Okay.
Okay. Please lead us in the Kel Mole Rachamim, the memorial prayer.
He's still muted.
Just got muted again.
Yep.
Yeah.
It could be Mamdani.
That's always a possibility. Josh, we're going to try again. Asking you to unmute.
I unmuted.
There
Okay.
you go. Go, go, go.
Okay. So, Mole Rachamim, Shochem Ramim, Ametzei Menucha Nechona, Al Kanfei Ashchina, B'malot HaKedoshim, O Tehorim Kazahak, Rakia Mazirem Esne Yishmas Zeven Avovam Shalach Liolamo Bavu Shenon Votedaka Baras Koraz Nishmo Avosa Begadeden Tehemenu Chavoso Oilachem Balarachamim Yastireya Beseisar Kenahavopav Leovolamim B'Yizra B'Tra Ahachayim Es Nishmasa Adonai Hu Nachalovasa V'Yahanua Amishkahava B'Shalom V'Noimar Amen.
Thank you so much, Cantor Josh. That was just beautiful. Really appreciate it. And by all means, stay and learn about Ze'ev Jabotinsky. Okay.
Thank you for the honor.
So moving on to our keynote speaker. Karma Feinstein-Cohen is the executive director of World Magshimey, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Herut, and World Herut, which she founded in 1999. This is the sole educational movement of unapologetic Zionism, and it's based on three fundamental pillars: the integrity of the land, Jewish unity, and social justice. This global movement, while united in ideology, each Herut branch varies in its style. The movement is diverse and highly active on 5 continents. Long committed to the ideology of Ze'ev Jabotinsky, Karma previously served in various leadership positions within Beitar for over 11 years. After serving as the education coordinator for Beitar Israel and as the regional coordinator for the settlement region, she became the head of the Overseas Department for World Beitar Executive and then treasurer in 1994. I'm sorry, Karma.
It's okay.
Much
That's
younger
fine.
than that. Through the World Zionist Organization, she headed up the Manoff program for high-risk communities run by the Department of Youth and Halutz in the World Zionist Organization and worked as a short-term shaliach in 1996 and 1997. She also operated as a co-chair for the Council of World Zionist Youth Movements from 1998 to 2000. In December of 2021, Ms. Feinstein was elected as chairwoman of the Council of World Zionist Youth Movements, the first woman to serve in this position. In 2025, she was reelected for a second term. Ms. Feinstein-Cohen moved to Israel from New Jersey with her family when she was 11. After serving in the Army, she received her BA in political economics from Tel Aviv University. She now lives in Shari Tikva in Samaria with her husband and 2 children. She is a member of the presidium of the Zionist General Council of the World Zionist Organization and has been a Jewish Agency Committee member since 2002. Since October 2016, she has served as a board member. Karma served as a World Zionist Organization representative on the board of directors of the Council to Perpetuate the Memory of Zeev Jabotinsky in the office of the Prime Minister of Israel. And now she shares with us. The floor is yours, Karma.
Thank you so much, Judy. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for inviting me. And I see, first of all, many faces. First of all, many faces from Herut, but regardless, many wonderful faces from many different places in many different countries. Very heartwarming. Even my very own first cousin who's here, who happened to have seen the Shari. So very honored and even more exciting. And so many people. And there's Mark over there, Mark Zweiban. So so many people who know me and so many people who know the history of Jabotinsky so well. So first of all, I'm very honored to be speaking here today. And if I miss someone, because there are 3 screens, that's how well Judy did in promoting that I can't see everyone. But if I've missed people, I apologize. We have Herut leaders here and FC leaders and actually leaders from all over, wonderful organizations. So I'd like to give a little bit of my mishigas when it comes to Jabotinsky, my crazy, because, anyone can give you a history lesson, but mine is a little bit deeper, I would probably say. I think I can comfortably say that I'm probably one of Jabotinsky's biggest fans. And it seems that, today that's a growing number of people, the fan club, oddly. His speeches and his writings are my go-to, and I mean this. When I have a question and I need to come up with an answer, I need something, to guide me, I will go to the speeches, to the writings, to the articles, to the many, many different materials that exist to guide me. I know today that, especially within this group of people, the term social justice is a problematic term. But once upon a time, back in the day, human dignity and human rights were something that we all, felt very comfortable with. And there are terms today that have been, forgive the term, bastardized by those who we are fighting, and trying to explain to them that we as Jews have a right to exist just like everyone else. They're using terminology, our own terminology, against us. So as a student of Jabotinsky, I will always revert back when it comes to the land of Israel, where it comes to economics, civil rights, human dignity. All these things were in the writings of Jabotinsky. And for one Zionist leader who was considered an outcast for so many years, Ze'ev Jabotinsky, the names that he was called by the organized Yeshuv, the settlement in the land of Israel, before the establishment of the state, referred to as a fascist, worse words and terms were used for Jabotinsky. Today, Jabotinsky is a household name. It is a name that is thrown around, and I say this with confidence. We are nearing elections in Israel. Within the Zionist parties, what it would be called left, right, and center, are using Jabotinsky today and referring to Jabotinsky, if not as their own, they're quoting him for their own political purposes. It's uncanny. This is a man who pledged that once he passes, and unfortunately that came very, very early in 1940, that his bones were not to be brought to the land of Israel, what had yet to be, independent, only once when the government of Israel called upon these bones to be brought back to the land of Israel, the state of Israel. And that took the anger, the deep hatred, it was so deep that took till 1964, till Levi Eshkol brought the bones of Jabotinsky to Israel. That's how controversial this man, who I see no less than prophetic and one who, again, in the year of 2026, when I need an answer, I refer back to Jabotinsky, and the answers are still relevant and valid. And that's why I think this was such an important leader. And when I say that political parties now running for the Knesset use it, believe me, anywhere from, of course, the Likud, all the way through Avigdor Lieberman's Israel Beitenu, and shocking, quoted and used by the Democrats, run by Yair Golan, who used the quote from the Iron Wall of Jabotinsky, saying that even Jabotinsky said that there would be a vice president, an Arab vice president. It wasn't referred to as Muslim at the time because the natives were referred to here. But that's how popular Jabotinsky is today. A cute anecdote is that the one Zionist thinker who has the most streets named after him in Israel is Jabotinsky. Is that on purpose or not? Very good question. It's a fact. You can Google it if you'd like. Go to Dr. Google or Rabbi Google, depending on how you'd like to refer to Google. But that is a fact. So most people like to read parts of Jabotinsky, and I can't say I've read everything. I have absolutely not. I've read quite a lot, but certainly not everything, and there is a lot of material. But I will tell you that people like to take the bits and pieces that are comfortable and convenient for them. Just like, for example, the Democrats took the part about a vice president or a deputy prime minister or whatever it would be, that would be an Arab. That's one small part of the Iron Wall. Many people quote the Iron Wall, but have never read the Iron Wall. They've definitely not read the ethics and the morals of the Iron Wall, which I humbly, by the way, recommend reading. This Iron Wall, and in fact, I did want to mention, Judy, to you, because I think that this example of this event today is a beautiful show of one of the points in the Iron Wall that most people do not speak about. And I think it's the most needed. AFSI is an organization, an independent organization that has been doing wonderful things for many years. Herut is a wonderful organization, an independent individual organization. But in times like these, the need to be bigger than ourselves and to reach out to our sister Jewish organizations and to show the unity. And we say unity and not uniformity. I'm not even, we're not even looking for terminology. I think that this is a very smart and very clever move. And I thank you, Judy, for reaching out, because I think that this shows, it should be as an example to other organizations, especially in the New York area, by the way. We all know how saturated New York is. And for those we have people here from Canada and Italy and all over the place, and certainly different parts of the United States. But there's so much anger between Jews. There's so much competition. And these are not normal times. We do not have the privilege today to be fragmented. We do not have that privilege. I see here Frank Dimont from Canada. Are you still in Canada, my dear friend? Yes, you are. And why am I pointing you out? Canada is going through a nightmare. The lack of unity there is bringing, I don't know if people know this, and this is part of the Iron Wall. I'm not really going off topic. I'm taking us right back there because I think it's so important that we understand. Jewish and Zionist organizations are being hit by the CRA, which is the Canadian IRS, for being Zionist and losing their charity status simply for being Zionist. JNF Canada, Herut Canada, Conservative Merkaz Canada lost their status. If we do not stand together, why is this the Iron Wall? People often speak of militarism, of the importance of the Jewish soldier. That is absolutely 100% accurate. But it's not the only thing that will enable us to win this war. First of all, it boils down, and forgive me, I'm not trying to simplify Jabotinsky, but Jabotinsky was all about common sense. And I think this common sense comes from even his mother's teaching. It's interesting. The cantor before asked me about Jabotinsky's father's Hebrew name. And I honestly and humbly said, I don't know, because I've always learned about Jabotinsky's mother. And story tells that when Jabotinsky was 7 years old, he asked his mother if there would ever be a Jewish kingdom. And his mother looked at him and said, of course there will, silly boy. And it was as obvious as common sense as the air we breathe, the rights of the Jewish people, to this self-determination, to all these fancy civil rights terms that we have to explain, and we have to explain our Zionism, and we have to explain that this is not something political, and it's something obvious. It's something like the air we breathe. Our basic rights are absolutely equal to the air we breathe. The universal human rights of nations to self-determination. That is the Zionism of Jabotinsky. And I don't know how much time we have, but maybe later on I'll read. There's a quote from Jabotinsky. He says, I did not learn my Zionism from Echad Ha'am. He learned it from Garibaldi. He learned it from the Italians. He learned it from the Gentiles. Why? Not because the Jews aren't good. The Jews are wonderful. I mean, we're not perfect, but we're wonderful. Nor should we be, by the way. But we have to learn to understand that we are deserving. You want to know why? Just because we are. We are deserving of rights just because we are a nation like all other nations. It's all a matter of common sense. It's all very, very basic. When Jabotinsky was traveling as a young man, and he unfortunately encountered the pogrom in Kishinev. Of course, it was horrific from him. It was a horrific sight. There are accounts from this written by Shmuel Katz in the book Lone Wolf. There are many, stories told about this, but the answer was a practical answer. There was a pogrom in Kishinev. What do I have to do to fix the problem? What do I have to do? I have to organize Jewish defense. I have to teach people to pick up sticks. We didn't have weapons then. He goes back to Odessa and he trains Jews to pick up sticks. The pogrom never comes to Odessa. But then when things, more and more, it's all a product of common sense. It's all a product of, this is what we deserve. We don't have to ask questions. We don't need to constantly explain ourselves. The term hasbara, everyone who knows me well knows that I cannot stand that term. Hasbara stems from the word lehasbir, to explain. I'm the daughter of a Hebrew professor and a word nerd, and my cousin Shari, who's here, is a Hebrew teacher, and we can't stand words that don't make sense. We have to explain. Let them explain. I don't have to explain anything. I was born a Jew. I have rights as a Jew. We have rights as the Jewish people. End of story. The integrity of the land of Israel, our rights to the land of Israel. If we have to, we can give you the reasons, but it's naturally ours. Our children should be brought up to understand that the Jewish rights to the land of Israel are natural. They're absolute. Everything is a matter of common sense. If somebody needs an explanation, I can tell them afterwards the 4 reasons that Jabotinsky named for why, if you need to explain. But honestly, we do not. We do not. When Jabotinsky understood that it wasn't enough to pick up sticks, he wanted to find a way to get the word out to as many people as possible. So he came up with the idea of building a Jewish army. But there's no state of Israel at the time. So what do you do in between? And again, this is not a history lesson, but putting the pieces together, I'd like to build a puzzle where we all have this puzzle of the wonderful, profound ideas that Jabotinsky had, who basically made us who we are and who established the movement, which became the revisionist movement, the Beitar youth movement, and all of the different things that today are the pillars of the state of Israel. And people do not know this. If you want to infuriate me, tell me that the labor movement established the Haganah. If you want to infuriate me, drive me batty. And you want to know something I have to thank for those of you who know Eldad Alachmi, because when I was a kid and I finished my service in the army and I started working in Beitar, He had a very long period where it was a very good obsession, and the obsession was Magen Yerushalayim, protector of Jerusalem. In 1920, as a result of all the aggression of the Arabs against the Jews in the land of Israel, Jabotinsky says, stop. We are establishing a group of defense that will defend Jews and fight back in Jerusalem. Magen Yerushalayim, he called it the Haganah. Ha-Haganah, the defense of Jerusalem. Where is this written? Oh boy, do you have to dig. Oh boy. But it's a fact. It's not I wake up in the middle of the night at 4 a.m. and I dream a dream. No, this is a fact. In 1920, the defense on Jerusalem was established. That became the Haganah became the foundation for the Haganah movement. And then, of course, we split up because what can you do? Appeasement does not work when it comes to the Arabs in the land of Israel, certainly not the British. And you have to establish the Irgun because we can't. But the very beginning was a practical beginning. It was Jabotinsky. And if we want to go a little bit further back in history, he was also modest enough to admit when he was wrong. World War I, he's thrown out of Israel and sent to Alexandria. Who does he meet in Alexandria? He meets Trumpeldor. They sit together in the room, and there's this fantastic conversation about what needs to be done in a Jewish army and the need to fight back and the need to defend the Jewish people. And Jabotinsky says, how will we do it? And Trumpeldor says, we will. We can. We can do it. We can build what was, later to become the Jewish Legion. And the nuttiness, the mishigas behind this thought process of they were both exiled from the land of Israel because it was World War I. They're sitting, two, Russians, sitting in a room somewhere in Alexandria, discussing the future of what would become the IDF later on. Not the Jewish Legion, but the idea of Jewish defense, the idea of a Jewish soldier, the idea that we must, have to, should, can defend ourselves and fight for our freedom. And Trumpeldor was the first example of that. And when they did their utmost to become part of the British Army and to fight in World War I, Jabotinsky was offered what was called then the Mule Corps. And he came to Trumpeldor and he said, that doesn't work with the term of Hadar, because mules, that's embarrassing. What are we, a logistic team? We want to fight. We can't be walking with mules and logistics. It's shameful. It's embarrassing. It's a smelly animal. And Trumpeldor said, we have to do it because that's our foot in the door. Jabotinsky then writes, he was right and I was wrong. This is also a workshop I give if everyone's ever interested. He was right and I was wrong. He said it about Tel Chai. This happens a few times with Jabotinsky and Trumpeldor. He then later called his youth movement in the name of Trumpeldor. The left, they don't have all the rights over Trumpeldor, with all due respect to the left. We have quite a few, we have our thumb in that pie. The entire concept of starting as the Zion Mule Corps was the foot in the door that enabled us to build the Jewish Legion, because they started out in logistics and then we became the Jewish Legion. Yes, it was dismantled, but it was the beginning. They had to lay the foundations. Everything was common sense. Everything was pragmatic, not opportunist. He wasn't Ben Gurion. He was pragmatic. He was practical. He understood that the only way to achieve the Iron Wall is to do what Judy did last week. She said, we have a Jabotinsky event, let's join forces. And I hat tip to you, Judy, really, because I think it's so important that we work together. I think it shows in these times when we are up against hatred. I didn't grow up this way in the we left when I was 11. I had never experienced anti-Semitism anywhere in the United States as a child. Never. Absolutely never. I lived in an Italian neighborhood in Paramus, New Jersey. Never. What we are experiencing today is beyond understanding. It's just beyond belief. If we do not work together, we are doomed. And when Jabotinsky explains in The Iron Wall what the future of the Jewish people will be and how it must win the war, it's basically a war of the minds. It's not only a military war. When I mean the mind is who's going to be stronger in convincing the other? Will it be us or the native Arabs living in the land of Israel? Will it be us or them? Stronger means economically stronger, more unified within us. Yes, the military, that's an obvious. We just explained that. That's the given and the obvious. But it's not the only thing that matters. Because when we are unified, when we work together, only when our enemy understands that we will never give in, that we will never give up, only then will they back down on their demands for the land of Israel and for our need to leave, God forbid. That is the only time that our enemies will understand. And when can that happen? When we embrace our Jewish sovereignty as soldiers, as a society, as an economy, as a nation, as a people. That would be the first step. The only way our enemies will understand is not by winning all the wars, because I've got to tell you, almost 3 years of war in Israel, we are tired. We are tired, and we don't have the privilege of being tired. I am the mother of 2 soldiers. I served in combat. My husband served in combat. My daughter served nearly 200 days up in the Lebanese border as a combat paramedic. We are tired. My son is an officer in the IDF. We are tired. But we don't have the privilege, because if we don't fight, we won't be. We don't have a choice in the United States. This doesn't mean I'm not encouraging Aliyah. And Karen, our community leader in New York, had this conversation one time, and she said, aren't we encouraging Aliyah all the time? I said, yes, we are. But we're also not encouraging backing down when the enemies in all these foreign countries abuse us. One does not negate the other. And Jabotinsky would not allow for this to happen. Because if I'm reading into his writings, there would be no way. Of course, we need, by the way, the only way is a Jewish majority in the land of Israel. That's the only way to maintain our sovereignty. And in order to maintain the freedom of Jews worldwide, is to make sure that we have that sovereignty. But regardless, we have to fight in diaspora as well. We have to ensure the fact that we are secure. And we have to ensure the fact that we work together. And that is something that many organizations don't realize. They're too invested and interested in writing against each other and talking against each other. You want to know something? Those who disagree with us, I wish them health and far away from us, okay? One of our board members who unfortunately passed away, Jeff Dunitz, used to say, there are many Jew-hating Jews. What can you do? I'm not going to be dealing with them. Unfortunately, that's probably something we can do nothing about. But within ourselves, within those in the Zionist spectrum that really understand the importance of this, if I could just sit back and say, what if Jabotinsky were here what would he say? What should we do? I'm not saying we should pick up sticks and go in the streets and start beating up people. In fact, the leaders in Herut have heard me say many times that I have a strange conflict with the issue of purchasing guns at this point. I don't necessarily think that walking around the streets of New York and Manhattan with guns is going to solve the problem. But becoming tough and becoming resilient and understanding our rights and being strong from within, that's something that can be taught. Jewish pride, Jewish resilience, Jewish inner strength. These are things that must be taught, and I don't think we're doing enough of this. One of the things that Jabotinsky talked about, and I mentioned this before, was the Jewish majority in the land of Israel. Nobody wants to be in the situation where, God forbid, the IDF is ruling over, as a minority, ruling over non-Jews in the land of Israel, and we're a minority. We have to ensure the fact, even if it starts from, and it may not be popular today or PC, making Jewish babies. Making Jewish babies, yes, and making Aliyah, and ensuring it's not about donating money anymore. It's about making sure that whoever can will live in the land of Israel and strengthen the Jewish majority. I'll tell you something else. It's about being smarter, and this is a very touchy topic for a completely different conversation. And this is something, my personal criticism of the state of Israel, if I may, on the issue of conversions and which conversions are allowed in. Because I have this pro bono hobby of my own to take specific cases that I believe are authentic, good, people who want to be the Ruths of today, and the country doesn't let them in. And the country, just the gatekeepers, just sometimes it's a missing form from a woman who was born in Guyana but is a halachic Jew and lived her entire life as because she doesn't have a birth certificate from Guyana in 1952. We need every single Jew. I see there are all sorts of questions. I'm sorry, I'm not going to read them now. And my criticism is not a governmental criticism. It's a general criticism. We're so afraid of letting in the wrong people. Again, I'm talking about cases that I deal with on a day-to-day basis because, I sit on the board of the Jewish Agency as Judy told everyone before, and I see cases that come in and are thrown out the window by Nefesh B'Nefesh, and we save in the Jewish Agency. Trust me, we check if they're really Jewish. We check if their conversion is valid, but we need everyone. And we need to be good to these people. So right now we're in a place where we're looking for unity, but not uniformity. That we understand already. But we also have to rise above certain things at this point. First and foremost, I assure you, as far as human rights and what I've read about Jabotinsky, from being, again, terminology has become, forgive my French, completely bastardized at this point. And if you ask me, I think we're more progressive than those who call themselves progressives. But that's the term has been abused, but completely. I think it's been taken and it's been completely bastardized. But if I look at what's going on today, if you ask me what Jabotinsky would do today on issues of human rights, Jewish rights, I think he would be out there talking about the importance of, it's interesting, again, it goes back to the iron wall, of being fair to the other, but completely and absolutely concentrated on doing whatever we can to strengthen. I just read today, somebody sent me from the United Kingdom, a Jewish leader who said, we have to hide the word Zionism. I cannot tell you what that did to me. And everyone and anyone who has a problem with the term Zionism, who says that we need to say that we're pro-Israel, we're not Zionist, I think Jabotinsky's turning somersaults in his grave at the fact that there could be Jews when there's a state of Israel that could say this today. We have to get up and use the term Zionism. The fact that Jewish organizations today are shying away from the term Zionism must be dealt with yesterday. It's something that we have to put on our agenda. And if they think it's a dirty word, we don't need to explain it. We need to say it in their faces. I'm very glad that our use of the term unapologetically Zionist has become a household term, because that was what it was all about. So people would use it everywhere to be unapologetically Zionist. This is what Jabotinsky, in my humble opinion, would want. I believe that he would go like he built Beitar, from school to school, from shul to shul, telling everyone, I don't care how you daven. I don't care how you pray. I don't care what denomination you belong to. You are a Jew. And if you are a Jew, you should be a Zionist. And if you are a Zionist, you should say you're a Zionist. And that is something that we are lacking today. And again, I'm excluding the Jew-hating Jews, forgive me, who will not be named because I won't give them the right time of day. We have to say we are Zionists everywhere. And when I start, I was invited to speak at Beth Torah in Aventura about a year ago. And I started off with, my name is Karma Feinstein and I am a Zionist, just like, Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay. That's how it has to be. We have to sit people down in a room and teach them how to use it. So we've won to a certain extent because the ideology that we hold so dear is now used by so many. Unfortunately, some only take bits and pieces of it, but it's better than nothing. But we should be taking this ideology, these prophetic words, these dreams. And I haven't even spoken about Greater Zionism because I say I don't have more time, but Greater Zionism is what happens after the state of Israel. How do we go to the next step? How do we go to become a light unto nations? What do we have to do? And I would like to ask a call to action for everyone who's here, but you're here because you care. But talk to your neighbor. Say these things to the people you see on the street. Go to your supermarket. Use the term Zionism. If you use it twice a week, use it 10 times a week. Because if we don't do it, nobody will. And Jabotinsky lives within us, and he will live on because thank God there are enough organizations that bring his ideology, and we must continue to do so. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Karma. That was very inspiring, and it makes me think we're going to have to do a part 2 for this. Before we go on to questions, I think it's really fitting at this point to do the Shir Beitar.
With pleasure.
So, Nina, if we can cue it up.
By the way, my daughter's name is Hadar, just saying.
Oh, wow.
I waited when I was pregnant till I found out it was a girl. I said, yes.
Very nice. Very nice. We may end up with you just singing.
No, man. Solo, you don't want me to sing. I'm a much better speaker than a singer.
Well, you're a great speaker.
Thank you.
So, Nina, how we doing? She worked so hard on this. Well, you know what? Let's do questions first, and then we'll do Beitar.
With pleasure.
In the meantime, so I know that, for instance, I have a bunch of questions, but let's take a look in the chat. Well,
We have a Shir Beitar.
we do. Yay!
Yes.
Okay.
We can't hear it.
Did it start?
I see it.
I see it too. Yeah, they're singing.
That's okay. Judy and I have admitted that we're both not technologically inclined, and next time we'll have somebody much better too. That's young and techie.
Yes, this actually, Nina worked with her son for a long time. Okay. We have Hatikva, we have
Maybe
okay.
unmute. Maybe the music is muted.
Muted?
Could be.
We kept muting people, but I made her a Nina, where are you? I don't This is wonderful when you have so many people that you can't find your music tech. Okay, so let's go to questions while we're looking. And I know that we had questions from Amy. Amy, would you like to unmute and ask your questions? I'm looking for you. Oh, she says I can. Okay, one second. Well, Leon, you had something you wanted to say. I'm asking you to unmute, Leon. Okay, Leon must have gone off somewhere.
Do you want me to try to read the questions in the chat? I can open them up.
Well, let's see, I was on questions. People were very, very curious. There were a lot of questions about the current situation with Iran. And then also Cheryl, who I'm sure you know, Cheryl Jacobs, was interested in what to do to protect the Hilltop youth. So maybe we can start with that.
I'm going to have a very unpopular answer. I apologize in advance. I would probably say comfortably that, well, I don't know percentage, but I'm going to guess there are about 98% of the people, the Jews that live in Judea and Samaria are ideological, quiet, Israel-loving people and not aggressive. 98%. But those who are, unfortunately, do a grand injustice to those who are not. And it started off as a small, less important, but it is taken. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of pent-up anger. 3 years, nearly 3 years of war has put people into a situation where they're very frustrated. The youth is very frustrated, and there is a lot of violence. And we have to protect those who are innocent, but we also need to educate those who have been causing trouble. And the Prime Minister has said it himself. And I think this is something that needs, it's not a black and white, question or answer. There is Hilltop Youth. There are young adults there that are causing a lot of violence, and it's something that must stop. And it has nothing to do with the fact that every hater and every enemy of the Jewish people must be taken care of and eliminated. That's an obvious. But it's caused a situation where it's very hard to differentiate between those who need to be protected and those who do not. And we're so immersed in 3 years of war that everyone's very afraid. And now, because of the political situation and the elections, there's an excellent commander of CENTCOM, the Israeli so-called CENTCOM. And he's excellent. And because, I don't know, somebody complained of one specific gentleman who was being held and was not released, then they demanded that he be replaced. And the rabbis and heads of communities in Judea and Samaria went to the Prime Minister and went to the Minister of Defense and begged him not to replace Blut because we feel he is a wonderful commander. So it's not a black and white situation. It's very unfortunate. I know I'm not saying something that's popular, but I am telling you the truth. And law-abiding citizens in Judea and Samaria don't get detained. Many and most of our commanders now are kippah wearing, and most of Israel has shifted to the Israeli right. Most of Israel has shifted. And that's very obvious. So I'd be very careful. Every case needs to be checked very carefully. So I'm sorry, my answer is not a popular one, but it's the truth.
No, it's fine. We just happen to know people whose children are considered Hilltop Youth, and we're very concerned for those children because not all are violent. Some are just kids who are, idealistic. So that's really a shame.
I'm concerned for their safety because now there's so much violence going on the Palestinian side.
Yes.
That if they go freely and walk into, by the way, the whole issue of 2 weeks ago is a very important question. I'll just raise it here for people, food for thought. Asserting our rights is a very important thing in Judea and Samaria. Traveling into or touring in Area A without informing the army, not too smart. And if you don't inform the army and have appropriate, protection and army security, then you're going to end up with two murdered Jews, unfortunately. And that's
But
the
not the
horror of
outside
all of
of
this.
Gilad. Yes.
Right. Right. And that's the horror. And these are things that we have to think. It's not there's no simple answer, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's a very complicated thing, actually. There were a whole bunch of questions regarding Iran. David Goldfarb wanted to know if you believe the regime can be eliminated. Susan Rosenberg asked, do you envision a path towards successful regime change? What would it look like? Amy Pearsall had questions about an economic engine. What does the regime have to do to generate capital for an economic to further that agenda? How quickly could Iran rebuild its depleted stockpiles? I don't know if you feel that that you can answer these questions, or is it something that you feel you're
I'm comfortable with. I'll answer shortly on the issue of Iran.
team?
I believe that the war started at a time where it's very problematic for the United States with midterms, almost here, and the whole issue of the president not being able to basically do whatever he wants to. I think from the Israeli perspective that we ended too soon. There was much more that needs to be done. I went through a euphoric week in the beginning of literally at the end of February. And then that euphoria, of course, kind of went out the window when my daughter was drafted for her third time up in Lebanon, because it all went together. It all came together, unfortunately. And there is no doubt that the head of that snake has to be chopped off. There is no doubt in my mind that that has to happen. And I know a lot of people grew up in different types of, the United States is a very big country, but I always felt that I was a product of the defender of the free world. And, as a citizen of the country that's supposed to defend the free world, it's our responsibility. And then I have a very close colleague, not Jewish, who wrote to me, I don't think that there should be American boots on the ground in Iran. And it was somewhat of an awakening, because little Israel, as mighty as we may be, and even with the hand of Hashem guiding us, is still not enough if we don't have a grand army behind us or leading us. So that's the most realistic answer. I do believe it could happen, but it would take probably a World War III. The entire world would have to realize that London has gone down, that Belgium is gone, that France is gone. I had a meeting with the president and the deputy general of Herut of France today. These countries have lost, and if we don't do something drastic, this is going to continue to haunt us. So that's my ideological answer in a nutshell.
Thanks. Solomon Vastias, I think I unmuted you, but I don't see you. Are you still with us? Solomon? Leon, are you with us?
Judy,
Yeah,
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
A quick question for the speaker.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thanks for the information. And what do you think Jabotinsky's impression would be with the Jewish Defense League's history and current status?
I'm going to be unpopular again. But that's okay. Karen knows exactly what I'm about to say. There's a difference between every Jew should learn to shoot and every Jew at 22. Very big difference. And in my humble opinion, everyone reads it today, and he's not alive, unfortunately, so we can define it as we choose. And I feel that Jabotinsky's thoughts were taken out of context. And that is something that I did live through, is when Yitzhak Shamir of blessed memory in my mind, the most wonderful prime minister that we ever had in Israel, the strongest, toughest. We never gave him an inch, and he stood his ground. The entire concept of Kahanism to him was something that he disagreed with and he felt was unnecessary after the establishment of the state. Defense organizations are wonderful. If they defend, if they don't incite, if they don't, it's funny, I've had this conversation with Herut many times, and I mentioned it with the issue of guns, with the topic of purchasing guns. I mean, I was trained 40 years ago, but regardless, do you know how long it would take somebody to extract a pistol from my hand, a larger man, so to speak? 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and use it against me. Even the most toughest of soldiers in the IDF have to fight for their guns not to be taken away from them. So it's important to have security, and to train security, and for Jews to be tough, and Jews to be strong, and Jews to fight back, and Jews to know how to speak. If we were to organize defense mechanisms like there is the CSS and all the different types, we have Magshimey-Herut in Canada. Aaron Adida was our security expert worldwide. These are things that are very important. Once they become political, then I think they lose the point that they were basically established for. Back in the day, JDL was wonderful, but what happened, the evolved, the way it evolved, unfortunately, I had to close down Magshimey-Herut in France 2 or 3 times because they were taken over by La Défense Juive. And La Défense Juive, all they wanted to do was break windows of Muslim stores in Paris. And it was very unfortunate because that wasn't what we wanted to do. We wanted to defend Jews. So again, it's a tricky question. If we're capable of establishing a true defense mechanism like Magshimey-Herut has done in Canada, then I think it's very valuable. But once it becomes political, I think it loses what it's supposed to be doing. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does. And with that, I think we're going to try, Nina, once again we have 3 anthems lined up, but let's at least try to get in Shir Beitar before we close.
And while we're doing that, the fact that Beitar, you say, was shut down, another one.
That was lovely. Thank you. I hope I saw some mouths moving, singing along. I hope everybody enjoyed that. It seemed to me that you were willing to stay on a little bit longer. I don't have a time limit. If people want to stay on, I can unmute people and let them ask questions. But you're also, I know it's late where you are.
I just wanted to react to the comment on Beitar. if JVP and other horrific organizations, how dare they shut Beitar down in New York? I just wanted to say that. How dare they? It's appalling to me. Regardless of if it's a political, it's just no. The answer is
Agreed.
no. And I was asked, Beitar USA was shut down.
In New
Oh,
York.
that is something that, by the way, if we all got together and fought for them, perhaps it would make a difference. Perhaps it won't. I don't know now with the political situation. I don't know enough, but it's appalling.
And there were some crazy personal lawsuits aimed at the leadership, which I think made them really want to not make the situation worse because they were facing a lot of personal liability and criminal charges. So and they were charged under the most bizarre statutes.
Really.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Anyway, Nina, can we play as we leave? Can we play Hatikva? You know, she had a good Hatikva.
I think it was always good.
Yes. Can we play Hatikva? All right. No Hatikva. So anyway, it was just wonderful having everybody here today and, you know, in the memory of a really, truly great man. And we thank you so much for your amazing contribution to the evening. And we'll have to the evening, to the afternoon, and we'll have to do a part two.